I know you haven't felt well lately. I know that you aren't well. So it makes it really hard for me to tell you this. I wish we were close. I wish that we were friends. I'm sorry, and I'm not all you hoped for, and that living here together isn't glamorous enough for you, and that Dad abandoned you when I was born, and you shouldn't make me feel like that's my fault! I didn't even know the guy. I never even met him, and I just want to say that I'm trying. I want to be there for you and to do all the things that a good daughter should do for her mother. You are such a rude person, and I can't take it anymore!
Where are you trying to run to, Pax? Can't you just stop and enjoy life while you're here? Like you to be alive and breathing? I mean, there may be no tomorrow, and you may have missed today in some desperate, frenetic, striving frenzy. I like the people at the retirement home. They know how to enjoy the moment. There's this old couple there that I aspire to. They just sit together all day, hand in hand, just breathing, staring at the television. Yes, Pax, they have a sitting down love. You say that it's a life in retirement, and you say that you want to fly on stars and never look back. But Pax, can't you see that sometimes falling can feel like flying?
You're so sweet, so attentive. Then you get us in bed or something and the challenge is over. Well, I'm sick of it. We're not toys, you know? We're not objects to be conquered and then thrown away like empty beer cans. You think this is some sort of game, don't you? You try to figure out what we like, what we want to hear. And then you do those things and you say those things that you think will work just to see how long it takes you to get us in bed. And then when you do, hey, it doesn't matter who we are, does it? When you're all done, you just roll over and go to sleep. And all we have lying next to us is this heaving lump of flesh while we are lying there staring wide awake at the ceiling. And for what? I don't know. You tell me. Do you know what happens as a result of your harmless wooing? We get to the point where our mood is dependent on whether you call that day or not. Do you believe that? Our whole sense of self-worth is determined by someone we hardly know.
Anger was only a part of it. I grew up with the nice house and the nice cars. I even had my own credit cards. I guess you could say I had everything. That's what my friends thought anyway. But I also had my dad. Every day. Maybe it was his work that got to him. I don't know. What I do know is the only time my dad showed me love was after he beat me. He would come home drunk, bouncing off the walls. He had this rage inside of him, and he'd always get this crazy look in his eyes when he was drunk. He would shove me around, yelling at me, telling me that everything was my fault. So yeah, I hated him every single day. Put yourself in my shoes. Wouldn't you have shot him too?
My father put a fist through the wall. I screamed. Ricky and I started crying. And the whole time he kept yelling at us to stop crying. I couldn't. I thought he was gonna kill us both. And my mom couldn't stop him. I was 4 years old and Ricky was 2. And I've been living in that hole, in that wall, ever since.
Son, we live in a world that has walls. These walls have to be guarded by men with guns. Who's gonna do that? You? You, Lieutenant Weinberg? I have a greater responsibility than you could possibly even fathom. You weep for Santiago. You have that luxury. You also have the luxury of not knowing what I know. That Santiago's death, while tragic, probably saved lives. And my existence, as grotesque and incomprehensible to you, saves lives. You don't want the truth because deep down in places at parties you can't talk about. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. We use words like honor and code and loyalty. We use them as a backbone of a life defending something. You use them as a punchline.
You heard from the witness, Frank Simmons, who saw an SUV speed by him a mile away from the scene around the time of the murder, with a license plate 3L6. Mr. Litch has an SUV with the license plate beginning with 3L6. And when the police entered the defendant's apartment, what did he do? He didn't ask, "What is this?" He didn't say, "What's going on?" He knew exactly why they were there. And he immediately began his escape. And then in the hospital, he confessed. It wasn't a delusional confession. He described a fact pattern which was completely consistent with the crime. The defendant admitted he was afraid of yet another drug conviction that would land him a life sentence. He panicked, pulled a gun, and fired. Now his lawyer suggests he was perhaps delusional when he confessed, or that he simply lied to protect the real killer, a friend, or someone he loved. Desperate suggestions for a desperate client. It's insulting to this court, to you, and especially to that woman and her children. Mr. Litch killed her husband. Mr. Litch killed their father. He admitted it to the police. Let's not waste no more time.
Tuberculosis. That's what the doctor at the charity hospital said I have. He says it strikes people when their living is hard, when the body doesn't get enough nourishment. He said the only cure is healthy food, fresh water, and a good long rest in the country. He might as well have told me to fly to the moon. Sometimes Hanya and Ruth and I take the long way walk from work. We look in all the store windows. Such things they have there. Once I walked into those great big stores all by myself. I rode the moving stairs all the way to the top floor. That's where the furniture is. And the dishes, and the china, and crystal. I pretended it was my furniture, my crystal, and china. I even sat down at the big piano and pretended I was a lady I once saw in a picture book.
You know, I don't even care that you call me a failure. It was what was behind it that hurt me most. The way it sounded when it came out of your mouth, there was so much heat inside that word, so much potency. It went right through my veins. I felt it all. It sizzled its way through me as if I was sat on top of an erupting volcano and it stayed with me. All these years it's kept with me. Because I learned to like it. I enjoy the burn. I've grown accustomed to it. It's become my go-to friend whenever I'm down. It taps me on the shoulder and wakes me up from my depression. Whispers in my ear, failure. And when I hear that word, it's the sound of your voice. I feel everything all over again. I'm thrown back into my fight to be somebody because I want to prove you wrong. I want you to chew and swallow that word of yours. I want you to wish that you never said it to me. I want you to choke on that word until you vomit.